Started me.
You can start. You got it.
Sorry, I was kind of adjusting your all's view, but yeah, you get started whenever
Okay.
you would like.
Okay. My name is Amy Jones. I work at Merrill Lynch, which is part of Bank of America. I've been there for almost 20 years now. I graduated from Center in 2004, and I did not have a background in finance whatsoever. I was first generation in my family to go to a four-year college. Loved Bo Weston, majored in sociology and a double major in history. Didn't know what I wanted to do, graduated and wanted to make the world a better place, and actually ended up working for nonprofits in education, helping other kids who were first generation fill out their financial aid forms. So I did that for a couple of years and very quickly got bored and frustrated with the nonprofit world and decided it was not a good fit for me personality wise, and did what so many people do when they don't know what to do with themselves. I went back to grad school to give myself some time and space to look at other options. So I went back to U of L, got my MBA at night. And while I was there, met a whole lot of entrepreneurs who had done well for themselves in the finance world, and then decided to make the world a better place by either managing nonprofits in the next generation of their careers or financially endowing and benefiting nonprofits in the community. And I said, that seems like the right place for me. So I landed at Merrill Lynch. I've been there for a very long time now. And they were particularly interested in my experience with financial aid and college planning. And then I had also started volunteering at a free tax preparation clinic. So having an understanding of taxes was helpful. At Merrill Lynch, we are a personal advisory firm. So we work individually with families who have wealth and help them plan ahead what they want to do with their wealth. Save for their kids' college education, save for retirement. When they sell a business and maybe have a pot of cash, we talk about how to transfer that to the next generation. So I am with the team. We currently manage a little bit over $1 billion for about 250 families. And we've been fortunate to be named in Barron's as the top financial advisory team here in Kentucky for the last 10 years. So we must be doing something right. So anyway, let me pause there and let Emily jump in.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go ahead. So I'm pretty early in career, I would say, compared to Amy. I graduated from Center back in 2019. So after I played Philadelphia Center, I was in Greek life and all that. And I knew I wanted to go into finance, but I didn't really know what area of finance I wanted to be in. And so through actually a Center connection, I ended up accepting a job at Dell Technologies, located in Austin, Texas, for a 2-year rotational program. So a lot of companies have rotational programs nowadays, but if you're not familiar with them, I did 4 6-month rotations within Dell. So all within finance, rotating across the organization, and had a really unique experience in different areas. And we also, through our program, we have like MBA style curriculum, coursework, case studies, business simulations, classes. And so the idea, I guess, like the strategy behind that is that Dell really wants to prepare early in career people to kind of make their mark at Dell and stay for a career. And so I did the program, graduated the program, and I've been in my current role for almost a year now. And so I've stayed at Dell since. And yeah, so right now I am on not really a typical finance role, I would say. I'm essentially a project manager right now for a work stream within a finance transformational program going on. So it's a very technical project where we are modernizing our finance systems, our technology systems, and implementing a new ERP system. So that's like a general ledger for our company, essentially. But it's really unique because I'm learning how, to work with people all across the business, and also being that liaison for finance in this project. And yeah, so I guess like in my experience, I've been in many different roles already, but kind of learning like there's multiple avenues you can go within finance, whether you're a corporation or like Amy said, and financial advising and things like that. So that's all I had, I guess, on my intro. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And so I guess just to kind of pick your all's brains, but what advice do you guys have for these students who are thinking about getting into a finance career? Is there any specific advice that you would give to them starting out after they graduate, or anything that they can do right now?
I think that it is helpful, and this is a generalization, but to organize finance careers into two buckets. And again, gross generalization here, but there is the personal advisory side that I am primarily involved with, financial advisors, planners, bankers, people who work with people to manage their money. And there's the second category that's involved with investments and finances, people who manage money for companies. Yeah, more like what Emily is doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
And there are very different skill sets, and those are very different positions. And there will be certain types of finance jobs that are going to appeal to you as individuals based on what you want to do on a day-to-day basis. That can fall into one of those two categories. And then what kind of background and what kind of credentials you get will then follow from there. So on the personal advisory side, so if you're going to work in a bank, if you're going to work at an investment house, you're going to get a series of exams, FINRA exams, Series 7, Series 63. You don't need to worry about that now. Your employer will sponsor you and put you through those programs. And then eventually, if you want to rise to the top of those careers, you're going to get a CFP, a certified financial planner designation, or a CFA, a chartered financial analyst designation. You can get those yourself. Those are multiple year study programs, but that's going to vault you to the top of those career paths. Getting an MBA is not required, but lots of times it'll get you in the door. It'll put you in the room to have the conversation. Where you get your MBA matters a lot. There's a lot of night and weekend programs, and then there are more intensive programs. MBAs can be really expensive, but it was very helpful for me to, again, get my foot in the door and to put myself in the right place. Emily, can you speak to what kind of credentials would work well?
Definitely. Yeah. So I think like going in more on like the corporate side, I think sometimes it's all networking and who you know to get your foot in the door. And so it's and that's tough, right? Center's a very small school, but at the same time, there is a big alumni network. And so I think it's really important to utilize your connections, what interests you, what companies interest you. Do you want to be in, I don't know, tech or retail or whatever? Because there are differentiations, but, at the same time, I think using your network is probably the first thing. And then also like with internships, a lot of times in the corporate world, and I'd imagine, Amy, this is probably in your realm too, but a lot of internships normally turn into full-time roles. And so I think it's important to, search out those internships like as a junior or even a sophomore so that you're preparing yourself to know what you like and what you don't like. Okay, you've tried this side, maybe you want to go to another side. And really asking yourself, like, what interests you? Like, I mean, it's kind of, I know it's hard, like in college to think, oh, what's my passion? And I still feel like I don't know what I want to do when I grow up or what I like to do. But if you can just kind of list a few things out, that can help you narrow things down. Because I think sometimes finance is so vast and like what you can do with it. So it does get a little confusing on what you like and what you don't like. So that would be my suggestion, really like honing in on an internship. I would apply to jobs and keep your options open. I know like a lot of center people are from Kentucky, a lot aren't, but there's a wide world out there outside of center. I grew up in Louisville my whole life, but there is a lot more out there too. So
And I will say, if you decide you want to be in Kentucky long-term, be open to the possibility that you'll need to go somewhere else to launch your career for a couple of years, because on my side and the investment side and the personal advisory side, there are lots of opportunities on the East Coast, in Chicago, on the West Coast. And I know lots of folks that go there with the intention they're going to spend 3 to 5 years in those places, build their career, and then circle back to Kentucky. And that may serve you well. You don't have to be there forever. You don't have to be in New York for the rest of your days in order to work in finance. But yeah, from a branding perspective, having spent some time there will serve you well.
Definitely agree with that. Yeah.
You all have any questions you'd like to ask them? Feel free to ask any questions you have. So did either of you complete an internship or like research or anything like that during your time here at Center?
Yeah. So when I was at Center, at first I thought I kind of wanted to go, I guess this is more like freshman, sophomore year. Like I wanted to go to like a law school route. So I interned for a senator in Louisville at the Louisville office, but for a U.S. senator, and then realized that wasn't the path for me at the time. And so ended up getting a finance internship at Foreman, which is a Louisville-based company. I interned on like the pricing and revenue side of things. And that helped me kind of know like, okay, I like this culture, I like this team, and I didn't like this about the role. And that helped to get my brain start moving. And then, I started thinking about, okay, like, where do I want to live? Do I want to stay in Louisville? Do I not? And that kind of led me to Dell. So
I had a similar, my internship was a misfire, but I think internships can be invaluable sometimes in deciding what you don't want to do.
Yes.
And there are a ton of finance internships. And if that experience helps solidify in your mind whether you want to be in front of people all day or whether you want to be in front of a spreadsheet all day, and actually see what those roles look like on a day-to-day basis, that is invaluable information.
I'm curious about sort of the day-to-day life. Are there like moments or like projects that you can have some of the hours? Do you find that a day is pretty steady?
Were you all able to hear that?
No, I'm not sure I heard that
entirely.
clearly.
Okay.
Yeah.
She was asking kind of what the day-to-day looks like. Kind of like, do projects kind of start picking up? Kind of explain what that looks like for you all. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So like I said, we work for families. So we work with people, typically professionals who have retired, business owners who have then sold their business. And let's say they sold their business for $5 million. Okay. They had been receiving income from their business during their working life, either W-2 as an employee or from the profits from their company all of these years. Now the company is sold. They have a pot of money. What do they do with it? So I will sit down with those people and say, okay, how do we turn this bucket of money into an income stream so that you get money in your checking account every month to pay your bills and live the way you want? And then how do we invest the rest so it continues to grow? And then at the end of your lifetime, how do we pass this to your family and avoid paying taxes? That's what I do. So I meet with people all day long. And obviously that's the conversation when they first retire, and that evolves over time. So we will meet with them when it's time to file their taxes. We'll file their taxes. We'll talk about how to avoid taxes. We'll talk to them about how their investments are performing. So because of the nature of our business, we may only meet with 1 or 2 families a day, but we'll spend a whole week preparing for that meeting. So We will take a look at their tax filings, take a look at their accounts, get our arms around what's happening in their family, prepare for that meeting, sit down with them, go over these details. Sometimes we're meeting with a husband and a wife, their kids, their attorney, and their accountant. So we'll meet with their entire team, and then we'll spend another 3 or 4 days after that meeting going through a follow-up list, action items, either changing the investments in their portfolio, sending money to pay their taxes, sending information over to their CPA. So sometimes they refer to what we do as a family office. We treat families as if they're a business and help them manage their cash, just like they were a business. So I spend a lot of my day meeting with people, preparing for these meetings, taking phone calls, answering questions via email. But I'm in front of people all day long, which appeals to me.
Yeah, mine's probably a little bit different, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
And right now I'm remote too, so it's just, different. But right now in my current role, essentially when you're in any sort of like consulting or project-based work, in finance or outside of finance, you have a project timeline, you're marching along to that. I'm developing a project plan with our IT people or Dell finance people. I'm, tracking these to completion, raising risks, actions, decisions, things like that, bringing up change requests to our leadership for our work stream. And just like overall, like adding structure and value and making sure that like the right people are doing the right things. So it's a lot of call heavy work or meeting heavy work. I would say a lot of coordination, communication. How do you organize people? How do you help people work together and get what you need? Strategically, helping the leaders know what's going on, what's holding us back, and are we going to meet our deadlines and different things like that. But the project I'm on right now is also it's like a 3 to 5 year technology innovation project. So it's quite long. So, in the week of the day-to-day, sometimes, you don't see kind of the light at the end of the tunnel, and you're not seeing like closure of things. It's a very long-term, mindset, which has been different for me than previous roles I've had, but also really exciting. And what I'm working on is like something that hasn't been done in 30 years at our company. So it's a cool time to be on a project like this. So.
Yeah, I guess, so I know you guys both mentioned about, like you're advising people, but how did you like get that knowledge to be able to feel like you can advise people on something? Like, I mean, I know me personally, I don't know much about the tax revenue system. So is this something like you would say, like, that's why you go get your MBA, or is this something you can learn on the job? But also, like Emily said that you're creating something that hasn't been done before. So how do you like feel like you're maybe not an expert? How can you feel able to advise people on these subjects?
That is a great question. On the job training, sometimes you have to fake it until you make it. You have to know enough to be able to be confident, and you don't have that confidence on day one. It takes years to build that in, and that's okay. That is okay. So no, you start this and you don't know anything about taxes. You don't know the difference between an IRA versus a brokerage account. What does that mean? And I think that's one of the reasons why we have so many exams and certification tests in this industry, because you don't necessarily know how to do this coming out of college. And for me, like I said, my family was a very working class family. So this was not even something we discussed around the dinner table. So you start off by taking a series of tests, and they can be intense. You get books and you read, and a lot of it is just learning terminology and what you can and what you can't do. It's a highly regulated environment, so there's lots of rules for how we place trades, how we communicate, how fees work. And again, you learn all of that stuff. You gotta learn those parameters and stay within those parameters. And then again, that takes multiple years. You have to be in the industry at least 3 years in order to sit for the CFP exam. And, you know, in those 3 years, you are learning a lot of technical skills, a lot about the law, a lot about taxes, a lot about investing, obviously, stocks, bonds, how those things work. But then you're also learning a lot of soft skills, how to communicate effectively. Money can be very emotional. You know, the markets are misbehaving this year. And when you work with a lot of zeros, it can be very stressful to go through those market fluctuations. So you have to learn how to keep your emotions in check and how to communicate with clients through those periods of uncertainty. So again, for what I do, there's lots of soft skills, high EQ. There are some sales skills that come with it, in addition to all of the technical knowledge. And you're going to get that on the job. You're not going to come into this role knowing those things. You're going to figure it out and learn it as you go. So from day one, you just have to, I think, learn about, give some thought to you and whether that is where you want to be and whether that's the sort of career that you want. And then the rest of it, you'll figure it out once you get there, if you decide that's what you want to do.
Yeah, something you said, Amy, kind of sparked something in my head about this. I think, you know, anywhere you start, like entry level, whether you go to grad school or you don't, you're not going to have all the tools in your tool set to know what you need to do to be successful. Like a lot of like my first even year, Adele, was just like being a sponge, learning, like, you know, understanding the company. What do we sell? What do we do? Like, there's so much more to it than just like your day-to-day role to have that upper level understanding. And I don't even feel like I have that yet. When Amy, you said like, fake it till you make it, like that happens to me still on a day-to-day basis. And I think like, that's okay. And that's expected. And when you're starting somewhere so early on, you're not expected to know everything at all. So kind of like relieves the pressure, I think. But something, I think there are things you can do, like, you know, that you should go to a new job with, whether you're first starting out of college or even me now. Like there are the easy things you can do right is like kind of how I think about it. And so like you can be personal with people, whether, you know, it's at center with your professors or whoever, or like just the people you're working with, like be a personal person, communicate effectively, be responsive, be organized, like having a good work ethic. And those things can't be taught, I don't think, at least. Like, so they're kind of inherent in you. And, you know, if you have those kinds of traits, I think, you know, you can continue to learn wherever you are, and learn anything. And, that's kind of why, I guess, like your question, why I wanted to do a development program, because I'm like, okay, well, I've done these classes at center. I was an econ and finance major, but you know, you are getting a liberal arts education. It's very different than my peers that went to business schools and did their undergrad at like a Texas A&M business school, as an example. And so I felt like I needed, you know, something to get a little bit more understanding. So that's why I was kind of searching for development programs straight out. I wanted to be able to learn. And I'm finding now a lot of companies, even like outside of Dell, are, you know, very learning focused, continued development throughout your career. So it's not just like your first 2 years. It's, you know, it is a longer term thing when you are, especially in the corporate space, but, you know, there's always room to grow. So you don't have to have everything on day one. So that's what I would say.
Thank you. That was very helpful.
Anybody else have any other questions?
Speaking on the rotating program, what more roles did you do, and was there much choice on what more roles you do?
Yeah, so Dell has like an interview process. I'm sorry, like when you go through it, it's definitely more low key, I would say, than like a job interview, but you kind of have like meet and greets with managers and things like that. I did sales compensation, global operations finance, like our supply chain finance, supporting Intel, like our relationship with Intel. So that's like one of our key suppliers for a lot of our products. I did financial plan analysis, and I did sales strategy. So I had like a very wide range of like finance, technical, and like project-based work and different sides of the business. And, there's still stuff I haven't even seen. So, I mean, I'm excited to like, okay, like if I don't like this in a couple of years, like I can go do something else and have that rotational culture as well, even outside of a program.
And is your work in person or is it remote or?
Yeah, so the program right now it's all in person. I got married in May, and so my husband went to center too, and he is actually in the military. He did ROTC, so that's why I'm remote right now. But yes, like primarily back in person for the most part. But I will say, like, I do miss being in person. If I could, I would be in person. I think especially early in career, there's a lot of benefits. I know a lot of companies, like, you'll see they're forcing people to go back, or how the past couple of years have affected I guess like work life in general. But there are a lot of benefits, and I enjoy traveling, like when I get to go back to Austin, and just like being in person, like I gain like drastically more than sitting at home. So there is a benefit. If you guys are like applying for jobs right now, I'd encourage you to work in person. I wish I could, so that would be my advice there.
Yeah, you guys should fully expect to work in person and seek out jobs where you're going to work in person for the first few years. There are plenty of jobs that are going to lend themselves to the flexibility of working from home, but early in your career, you're going to learn a tremendous amount from the people around you, and you're going to have access to mentors in the office. They're going to see you and find opportunities for you just because you are in front of them on a day-to-day basis, in a way that when you're working from home, it's easier for you to get lost. Yeah, you should just plan on that. Again, later career professionals have quite a bit more flexibility. I could do some of my work from home, no doubt about it. But early in my career, there's still plenty of older professionals that believe in punching a clock, and they want to see that you're there in the morning, and sometimes that you stay late, not every night, but sometimes they like to see that, and they notice that. People will notice if you send an email at 6 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock at night, and maybe it shouldn't be that way, but it is. And just for your own self-interest, you'll learn a lot in seeing how other people conduct themselves and how they dress and how they have conversations, and it benefits you, and you should expect to be mostly in person earlier in your career.
Yeah. I do think it's industry dependent. Like Dell is kind of taking the stance. They don't want to upset anyone, and so they are very flexible. But I mean, that's a tech company. That's completely different than someone like Amy working with clients every day. And so, I still think like I'd probably be going in 3 days a week if I was in Austin. I could. So there is just so much benefit to it. But yeah.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Any questions? All right.
We haven't really talked about investments much. Those of you, I don't know if any of you are interested, stocks, bonds, venture capitalist, cryptocurrency. Does anyone have a particular interest in those things?
Be interested to learn more about it. I feel like I just don't know about it.
Yes. Okay. So, what I do, we invest individual families, their investment accounts. We recommend which of those asset classes are most appropriate for them, but then also specifically which individual stocks, bonds, and funds are appropriate for them. But there are other people who are not on the advisory side, that are not necessarily client facing in the way that I am, who will analyze companies and help decide which stocks, for example, that their fund wants to buy and invest in long term. So those tend to be folks who are very analytical, very math dominant, very high IQ. Those are going to be positions with words like analyst, portfolio manager, trader. They tend to be based New York and Chicago. Goldman Sachs is the gold star to get an internship at Goldman Sachs. it will put you on the path to be very, very successful doing those things. It's similar in my role that you will do a lot of on-the-job training when you get there. There will be lots of exams, lots of credentials, lots to learn, but those can be highly lucrative jobs if you're interested in investment management in that way.
I believe we are connected with Goldman Sachs on Handshake, so if you want to get on Handshake and look them up, and I'm sure they post jobs, and I can check, but I'm pretty sure they post internships and whatever kind of professional opportunities they have on there too. So if not, it'll be on the website. Any other questions you guys have on your minds?
Yeah. Do you need like some skill like Excel or like or finance?
Were you all able to hear that?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, she's wondering if you need any sort of skills in like Excel, Office, was there one more? Microsoft, like those sorts of things.
You are going to need to be an Excel ninja. That is going to be your bread and butter every day. Anywhere in finance, you're going to end up. You're going to have to know how to look at spreadsheets and analyze numbers, and you will do that every day of your life. And yes, being able to work through a spreadsheet quickly and using, Gantt charts and understanding all the formulas to deal with those numbers will be invaluable to you.
Yeah, I would agree. I think too, there's just like a new, I don't know, I think finance is changing as well. Like there's a lot of more like data analytics and other skills that you can use and get out of it and things like that. So like I had a role where I had to code in SQL, like as an example, and I've never been that kind of mind and things like that. So there's a wide range of tools. I think Excel, like you said, it is the bread and butter, it is the standard, and like you should definitely brush up on your Excel skills, before you even start a job in finance, just to get yourself prepared. And yeah.
So we use Stata for the econ classes here. I was wondering if you use something similar to that, or if that's at all applicable too.
I think the skills that I learned with Stata were really helpful to learn new tools, but I have not seen Stata used in corporate finance. So I don't know. Does that help? Like if you knew how to learn Stata like easily, like you should be able to like learn new tools and stuff. That's just not one that's heavily used in the real world, I think. So
Do you all use certain programs that we should maybe start learning, or?
I mean, it just kind of depends. Like I would say like Power BI is really big right now, like a big one that people always like to use. Tableau has been used in the past, and they're all buzzwords. So, there's always going to be one new tool, right? Or one new whatever. I do think Excel is like the standard, but if you want to get into like more like high level data, I would say like SQL and like knowing how to use Power BI would be my next steps. But
Thank you.
A lot of places have proprietary software that you will need to know how to learn. You'll need to be able and to get comfortable very quickly. Learning their specific applications. But again, you'll learn that when you get there.
Like it's more important to have like the skills to like learn fast on the job than actually know what you need to know, because like you're never going to go in and know everything. So
no, and sometimes it feels like you're drinking from a fire hose. It'll seem like there is information overload early on and more things that you need to learn that you have hours in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Any more questions? So do you all have any parting advice for the students that you'd like to say before we end the chat?
I know I mentioned this in the beginning, but I would just say like use your network. Like you guys probably know by now, like people that have graduated center, like talk to them, see what they're doing, Go to the career center, I'd say too. I think it's all a lot of life nowadays is like who you know, and it's really important to like keep up connections with people. So I know networking is sometimes daunting. Like I don't love to network sometimes, but it does pay off in the long run. So
I've kind of been alluding to this throughout the entire conversation, but figure out what kind of job you want, what type of day-to-day appeals to you. And then you can focus on the credentials. Then you can focus on the technical aspect and learning what you need. Internships are invaluable for that. We've already talked about this, but spending some time in a company, watching other people do the job and deciding, okay, this is definitely where I want to be, or definitely not where I want to be. And that's going to be very helpful to point you in the right direction. And then finally, a very easy, I don't know whether it's easy, it can be really hard. Don't be shy about sending an email, asking someone who does a job that you're curious about, inviting them to coffee. People want to help young people. So if you said, I am exploring this as a career option, will you meet me for coffee, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and picking their brain, you can learn a ton. Even better than a coffee shop is if they'd be willing to meet with you in their office. You can see how people are dressed. How is the general decorum on a day-to-day basis? Do they seem frantic, or is it high stress? You can learn a ton of information, and professionals like to help young people. So don't be shy. I mean, the worst that'll happen is they won't respond, and send out a dozen emails asking for these meetings. And if you get one response and take one good thing away from that meeting, it's worth your time.
Great. Thank you guys so much for taking time today. We really do.
of course.
Yeah. And are either of you on the Career Mentor Network?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I am or not, actually.
Okay.
But
I can check and see if you are, Emily.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. But so I know for sure you can find Amy on the Career Mentor Network, but I'll check and see if Emily's on there as well. So yeah. Or if you guys can reach out to us if you want to connect with them too.
Can I say something to them?
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thank you all so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
It's